So I maybe started to realize I was an artist in 2002. I actually worked a job where every morning we would go in and talk about how we were artists, and we had to end our elevator pitch of what we were doing that day by saying, "I am an artist." Maybe a couple of years before that, my father walked into my bedroom and handed me a sheet of paper with the major and minor chords on it was a sheet of graph paper, and then he dropped a guitar with the paper and left that to me. So I learned guitar on my own from that sheet of paper, and I've been writing for my entire life because I enjoy the aspect of storytelling, and that is also why I got into filmmaking. I consider myself a writer, a musician, and a filmmaker, and that's storytelling to me. So if you wanted me to like boil everything down and say what art do I practice, I'm the art of storytelling. I'm Ivan J. White, and I'm from here in the community of Flat Bay. My parents actually live off camera by like maybe 120 meters.
You say you were self-taught?
Yeah, self-taught as the guitar, and I think I wrote one time that I was a black hole for books for my parents, so they couldn't get me enough books. I just read constantly. I spent very little time outside. I read a lot. My friends had to come and like pound on my room window from outside to get me to go outside, because I'd be in a Saturday morning, not even cartoons, I'd be in a book reading. So that love of reading led to the love of writing. And then you can also write if you're a musician, and you can also write if you're a filmmaker. So it sort of grew from there to being those three aspects of my practice, which I boil down to storytelling.
So tell me a little bit about how you got connected with your community.
It actually happened outside of this community. The connection to the community as a Mi'kmaw person happened when I went to high school, because we had a social studies book. I can't remember if it was grade 8 or grade 9, and there was a chapter on the native people of Newfoundland, the Beatwork. It was 2 pages, and the last paragraph on the second page of that chapter was, "The Beatwork are no more. The Mi'kmaw were brought here by the French to slaughter them." And I sat there in social studies class and I said, that's not true. I need that proved. And it escalated into an argument with the social studies teacher, and I was not expelled, but I was kicked out of that class, and it was a morning class, so I didn't go to any other classes that day. I walked home, but I had to come through some puddles and stuff on the trailway, and Dad knew, and I told him the story, and he said, "Good for you." He said, and so my mission, after I learned that that was a myth, that wasn't true, we weren't brought here by the French. That was just English people basically expunging themselves from the record of doing what they did. So I got involved knowing that that stuff existed in records. It was in books that I was reading. And I trusted books until that moment. So I started talking to people more. Started talking then and learning the stories of us here in this community, where we came from, how our families were all connected, and when we came here, why we came here. I know the answers to all these questions now because of that one paragraph.
Do you teach at all?
I say mentor. I'm not a teacher. Big groups scare me. So even when I perform, I don't pay attention to who's there or how many people are there. A room of 1 is just as scary as a room of 1,000 to me. So I don't say I teach. I mentor, and what I want to do is inspire people to enjoy facilitating and creating things as much as I enjoy it. I would rather facilitate and help other people, like create platforms for other people to perform and entertain on, than be the person who does that myself. I'd rather be the person who's wearing all black backstage, hauling people on and off the stage, or designing what the show looks like. The stuff that is the internal background people, the people at the end of the credits in the movies, not the ones that are in front of the cameras.
You work as an artist, like help your community in like a grand way by teaching, younger generations about what has happened with the Mi'kmaw people.
Yeah. So what we sort of focus on a lot is telling our own story. And you can't tell your own story until you know your own story, and that includes the oral history that exists and the stuff that was written about us by settlers too, because that's also proof that we are here. The community it hinges upon our own oral history matching up with what people wrote about us.
Where would you say that you're at in your story?
I think I'd say I'm probably around the second act, because I have 2 kids, and they're in the prologue. But I get to help them write the prologue and make sure that when they go out into the world, that they're proud of who they are. And so my story will be finished when my daughter comes up to me and says, I am a proud Mi'kmaw woman. Or my son comes up to me and says, I am a proud Mi'kmaw man. Yeah, I wouldn't put it on my art or anything like that, because my kids like to do things in art, and I let them explore until they find themselves, but also tell them where they came from. So my story will end when they realize that that's all connected.
Hi, my name is Eric White, and I'm from St. George's, Newfoundland. For a living, and for as long as I can remember wanting to do this, I work in the film industry. Most of my work is filmography, cinematography, filming for commercials and various events, documentation, archives, commercials, just the regular. But my real passion is directing, and directing short films that I often write. When I was young, I originally wanted to be a zookeeper because I thought playing with animals would be fun. But then I had this classmate, his name was Halen Pittman. He wanted to be a movie director. I don't think he actually wanted to be a movie director, because what he said was, during that presentation, I want to be a movie director, sit down and watch movies all day. So what he wanted to be was a film critic. But what I realized from his presentation when I looked in towards movie directing, I found a book on Steven Spielberg in the library, which inspired me to want to go into the film business. My very first memory from making film was I had an old VHS camera that we would use, and I would take it to film my own little things. The first thing I remember ever filming was this Kinder Egg of a little pink toy cat, and the film was called Lookout Kitty, in which I put a little tiny Kinder Egg toy cat on the ground and filmed myself throwing a truck at it. A toy truck, and that was the whole film. It hit the cat, that was it. I said, look out kitty, hit the cat, that was the whole film. It wasn't my most genius project that I've ever worked on, but it was sort of laid the foundations. Watching that footage back made me realize, like, wow, that's interesting. Something like this narrative that I've come up with, I've seen it in action from filming it, and now I'm watching it back. So from there, I would often just take my toys that I had and film them in various situations, regardless of whether or not my hand was in frame moving and talking for them or whatever, you know. The basic childhood imagination. Eventually it grew into me grabbing my friends and being like, hey, let's make a movie in a day. And it's just us running around screaming with terrible audio and terrible visuals, and they are just the worst. But it's cemented that that foundation of what it would eventually evolve into, and that is my passion for telling narrative stories. As soon as I was out of high school, went straight into the CNA's digital filmmaking program in Stephenville, because I knew I wanted to do something with film. So I went there, graduated after 2 years, had a fun time, made various short films, and then went straight into creating my own video production company called Dome Video Productions, which I operate from this office in my home in St. George's. Most of the work that I do for my company is commercial work and archive work. I film a lot of shows for theater and, you know, stage and theater, so that they can archive the shows that they've done and look back at it, and promotional work for different shows. So I don't often get to make something that is fiction, but whenever I find time, I like to direct my own little short fiction films. Even now, I'm in the works of creating a short horror film. A lot of the stuff that I do relates to the community and culture that I'm surrounded by, even if it's not like my town, but towns that I am close to, like Stephenville and Flat Bay. I work to help culturally support various projects. I filmed the Powwow, and I'm filming something for the Go Girls Network and various workshops to help promote a community effort to create more of these workshops in the future. Because a lot of the films that I do, I make sort of sizzle reels for these companies and the productions and the workshops that they put off so that they can hopefully get funding for the following year by showcasing what they got. Because we live in a media-driven world, so everybody wants a nice video, a nice short video to capture people's attention spans, and film is the best way to do that. So they often hire me to help so that we can get more funding for community events and cultural events. They say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Some shoots feel like a job. That's the nature of it. You're not always going to get something that clicks with you. The nature of film, it requires a lot of precise decision making, and sometimes people who aren't film orientated don't understand or respect that necessarily. So they may not get me the things I need on time, and it becomes a lot of work for me. But in most cases, it does feel like a passion that I'm sort of striving towards. And a lot of that is culturally orientated, because what is culture but everything that we do as a people? I ended up staying in my hometown and working from my home, a large part because it was financially more beneficial to work from home and not to try to start a business elsewhere. You know, I have contacts here that I've been establishing since I was like 12 years old. So I had contacts, I had jobs, I had opportunities out here, and also family and friends out here. So I wasn't taking as much of a risk when I made the company initially, but I also just see the absolute potential over here. Most stuff is filmed over on the east side of the island, and there's a lot of gorgeous scenery and a lot of talent out here on the west side that people don't necessarily realize. There's a whole demographic here for film, and most of the funds and most of the film related stuff happen out in St. John's. And I believe there's a lot of potential over here on the west side to make better quality content. And if there's a lot of us out here, then we can come together and truly make something to rival Hollywood or anything. I think we have the ambition and the ability to make some really great content over here. There's a sort of social stigma towards filmmaking and the arts in general, that it's not necessarily a financial decision that's worthwhile, or that you can't find work. I know I was told, how are you gonna find a job? How are you gonna get paid? Do you think you're gonna make a living hitting a button on a camera? And because that is the stigma. A lot of people don't realize how much work goes into even 2 seconds of a narrative film. That could be a whole day. In most cases it is, and a lot of people don't realize the potential that filmmaking has, and also the potential that's out here to be able to do that. Because even the ones who understand filmmaking will say, well, in these small towns, what can you really do? And I found from all the artists I know, all the production companies I know, the college out here, with the resources we have, we are able to make some truly beautiful content. And I have been flat out with my company ever since I started it, and I hardly even advertised it. This is all just from contacts I had previously made and word of mouth from the contacts I work with. There is a desire for film everywhere you go. It is a media that will never lose its cultural significance or relevance in society. It is something that we all consume at least once a day. I'd be shocked if someone didn't see some video form of media at least once a day. And beyond just the payment and being able to support a living, it is also a passion of mine. So if anybody has that shared passion, go for it, because we need more film people, and there will never not be enough film people.
Nín Deluisi Evan Butler, Ach Delaway New Johannik, Uktahamguk. Hello, my name is Evan Butler, and I am from Bay St. George, Newfoundland.
So tell us about your art and how your family and culture impact that.
I am a mixed media artist. I've worked in illustration, I've worked in graphic design, in photography, and my work often has to do with identity, place, and process. And a lot of the questions that I've had about myself as a person then inform that art practice. So that has to do with my mixed heritage. I'm mixed Ulnu and European descent. I am an island person who is attached to a very large country. I am somebody who's grown up both in rural areas and urban areas. I am neither straight nor am I gay. And so all of these sort of questions that I've been asking myself go into my practice.
Can you give us some specific examples from your work?
Of course. I was fortunate enough to partner with the Cultural Revival Committee on a couple of short films. One was about a local fancy shawl dancer who I'd seen perform or seen demonstrate and dance at our local powwow. And seeing her move and seeing the other fancy shawl dancers move, I thought, okay, there's something here that not only intrigues me, but I think is interesting to a lot of people. So I approached a woman named Julia Blanchard and asked her if we could do a short documentary about her. So in that film, she talks not only about how she came to dance, but why it's important for her to then pass that on to her daughter, and then how she and her mother were working on regalia for her daughter's cousins, who also were starting to explore fancy shawl dancing. And so seeing how she was navigating all of those various processes, as well as living life, was really interesting to me, and I hope plays out well in this film, that kind of I'm helping her tell her story to other people. And in doing so, again, I sort of see how that might reflect my own behavior, my own interaction with my culture, my people. And so now I'm looking at creating fancy shawl regalia for myself. In another film, the Cultural Revival Committee had invited back Dan White, who is originally from an area here called Shallop Cove, and he's a master basket maker who had learned how to make baskets and many other things from his father. So in that film, we see him not only teaching local people how to go out and harvest the materials in a respectful way to make baskets over the course of a number of workshops, but then he agreed to sit with me and tell me some of the stories of how he learned, tell me stories about his father. And in that film, we also see his father. There was a documentary that had been done in the early 80s in which you see his father and Dan going out and making these baskets right there in the area where he grew up.
What are the most important values that you get from your culture that you put into your work?
That's a tough one because, again, I guess I'm often looking more for questions than for answers. And so along the way, I guess some of the questions that might relate to my culture that I've been pulling from is because, well, it comes out of a big gap in my own knowledge. I was always told I'm Indigenous, I'm Native, I'm Mi'kmaw, but I didn't necessarily know what that means. And so along this journey, which plays out in my art practice, where I meet people who maybe have some answers or maybe have provided me some thoughtful questions, I have thought about things that, what can I do to contribute to the revitalization of Ulnu culture in my area and beyond? Some of that has to do with language. So I've worked on videos where I've helped script and then record and edit Mi'kmaw language videos. I have documented lots of local cultural activities. Sometimes it's small little things that may be happening around a band office or a community center or out on the land somewhere. I was fortunate enough to be part of bigger productions that again would help tell the very complicated story of the revitalization of Mi'kmaw culture here in Newfoundland. So a lot of it is, I guess, about knowledge sharing.
Can you tell us a story about your journey where you were able to articulate those questions?
I have many stories. I think the first time I went to powwow, because I came to it late, that I was amazed by both the drummers and the dancers. And I think that part of that journey ended and then began again with the film with Julia. I had watched so many different people dancing, whether it was men dancing, women dancing, whether it was intertribals, and wanting to dance myself and not feeling the confidence to do so. I loved the drumming, but I knew I was never destined to be a drummer. But I thought I could be or could have been a dancer. So along the journey towards making that film, we didn't necessarily start with Julia. She was definitely one of the people we considered. We considered a few other people, and so we had lots of questions that we needed to answer before we could start that project. But then once I got to talk to Julia, no cameras, no equipment, just me invited into her home to sit with her. Her mother, her daughter was playing, and we just talked about the project. And I said, this is what I'm looking to do. You know, would you agree to work with me on this? And she did. And getting her to talk about that, those processes that she was going through at the time, but also how she got there, I think informed so much for me about myself and about my place within the community. And I think although I had done a number of videos up until that point where I was helping to document these activities, it was that one that I felt that's where I really kind of found maybe my position and my place, where my story is about helping other people tell their stories.
And where do you see all that going?
Meeting more people, hearing more stories, being lucky enough to have the opportunity to help those people share their stories.
In your own words, can you tell us if it's okay to record you?
Absolutely. I am honored to do it for
Can you please tell us your name and where you're from?
you. My name is Danny White. I go by Danny White, and I'm from Shallop Cove.
So please tell me about yourself and what you do in your art.
I'm a traditional spruce root basket maker, teacher. Yeah, and I also do other crafts. I knit, I can sew, and I can build. I'm a builder. Used to be, I'm retired now.
How did you get into building?
Everything I know today came from my father. My father, Anthony White, was a well-known carpenter here in the Bay St. George region. Also a well-known basket maker, a knitter, a fisherman, and that's where I learned everything from. All my knowledge came from him.
So what is the most important thing about your art?
For me, it's the most important thing about my art. It's the culture, of course, number one, keeping it alive. The people that it brings together. The interest I get from from the people. The basket itself, to me, represents all my ancestors who used to do it. When I weave, I can feel their hands in my hands doing the same thing. And
You said you were a teacher?
yes, of the art, yeah, of the basket art. Yeah.
Where do you teach?
I've taught a lot of classes here, right here in St. George's, Flat Bay. I just enjoy it so much. I'm home. Here is home.
Where do you see your art practice in the future?
Well, with the teachings and that, I'm hoping that it will be carried on when I'm gone, as it was kept for the last 100 years by my family. I just hope it keeps continuing, and all of our children learn how to do it, because it is such an important part of our culture. Because in those days there was no such thing as plastic bags from the Walmart. If you wanted a vessel to put something in, you had to make it. And the spruce root basket was the number one vessel. They made it for any kind of vegetables, berries, collecting medicines, the whole Aboriginal thing.
Yeah. What other type of baskets?
Besides the traditional round one, we've branched out and we've made baskets that you can put in for plants. We've made little baskets for jewelry for ladies, small square baskets. We've made half baskets, which can hang on your wall, flat on your wall. Pretty well anything you can come up with in the shape of a basket, we've done it. Right now I'm working with a dear friend of mine, Arlene White, and we have another type of basket in mind now that we're going to build when I'm home. but I'm gonna leave that till it's done, so we don't give away no secrets.
What do you make the baskets out of?
All the cages, like the frame of it, is all made out of rod. We called it, the old folks called it, which is the wild raisin bush. And of course, weaving is done with white spruce root.
Do you have any stories from your father?
Oh yeah, we spend many hours in the bush, many hours having lots of fun and getting eaten by the flies and and we've done baskets. We did one each for the university, Memorial University. That was one of our first times that we were videoed, and there is a video of it on YouTube. And like this, we spent a couple of weeks, and they had videographers from Memorial University out here, and me and him did some baskets. And we used to just love just being with it, or the company, and weaving together. It's like you're weaving together your family, your ancestors, your DNA. It's there. It's all there in that basket. That's how I feel about them. I don't sell baskets per se. I don't make baskets to sell because I don't feel that those baskets are something that you could even make money on, because there's so much time put into it. And once you make your own baskets, you don't feel like selling to somebody. It's part of you then. Spirit is in that basket and you want to keep that basket. So I'm not a seller. Now, not to say if I had one and if the price was right, well, I might. But it would take a lot of talking to get one off of me, to be honest with you.
How much time do you usually spend making a basket?
Well, say a 6-inch basket. That's only a small one. You have the minimum of about probably 30, maybe 40 hours put into it total by the time you harvest everything and prepare everything, then get it put together. There's more to it than just a basket. You have the molds you have to make, and you have to set up everything on your molds. That has to dry for a day or so, and so there's a lot more to it than people really think. When you see it, it's like, oh, a cute little basket, but they don't realize that cute little basket costs you a week's work. And they would expect to buy it for a couple of dollars, but so that's why I don't sell them. I prefer to gift them to somebody. If I'm getting rid of a basket, I gift it.
What do you make the molds out of?
Plywood. We use plywood. You make your size. If you need a 8-inch basket, you make an 8-inch circle. You put it on another piece of square underneath, which will accommodate your nail net for holding the rings on and stuff, so they can dry. That's the only what I would say commercial thing in the basket is the mold itself. Other than that, there's no commercial thing in there. It's just pure out of the bush.
What do you like best about making baskets?
Like I mentioned before, spirituality. When I start making a basket, I have my dad here, my grandparents here, and they're around me all the time. My hands work in tandem with their thoughts. To me, weaving a basket is, like I said, is like weaving your family. All your family, it's in there. That's what I think about when I'm doing a basket. I don't think about the basket, I think about the family.
My name is Caden White. I am from St. George's, Newfoundland and Labrador. So I beatbox. It's kind of like vocal percussion, but more. Now it is, anyways. There's a lot more elements of like mainstream music in beatboxing now. So the way I like to phrase it is that I just kind of make songs only using my mouth.
So how did you get into beatboxing, and where did you learn?
One of my now best friends, he moved here from Ontario in grade 4 or 5, and he showed me beatboxing videos. And he moved away in like grade 8, and came back in grade 10, and he was really good at this point. Everybody was dumbfounded, really, and I seen the way it made people react, and I kind of knew like that's what I wanted to do.
Tell me a bit about what you do.
So I beatbox. Um, it's like vocal percussion, but more. The way I describe it now is like I make songs just using my mouth because there's a lot of elements of mainstream music in it nowadays compared to what it was 10, 15 years ago.
Can you tell me a little bit about how important beatboxing is to you?
It's like extremely important actually. Like I played sports a lot growing up, and that was like one thing for me to do, but you don't really get to express yourself in sports the way you do through like arts. And yeah, having that kind of outlet to express, my feelings, my mood, my thoughts. I didn't realize it at the time, but yeah, it was really important for me to have something to pour those emotions into.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you'd like to express with your beatboxing?
Yeah, so I'm not very good with words, like talking to people unless I'm very comfortable around you is a big problem for me. Just things that I don't necessarily say in conversations, but want to. I remember those feelings and I express them. Like on stage, I feel like it's just I'm a completely different person. It's weird because like in a social setting with like 5 people that I'm not too familiar with, I'm very nervous. But on stage in front of hundreds, I feel at home. So yeah, it's weird, but it's how it is for me.
Would you say that, beatboxing has changed your life for the better then?
Oh yeah, 110%. Having something to work towards that I'm passionate about, because like I know like people are in school and they have goals and whatnot. I know for a fact this is something that I want to do long term, and having that reassurance, I think it's nice because when I was in school, I wasn't sure if I actually wanted to do what I was working towards. It was more just to please the people around me. So having beatboxing and knowing like that's what I want to do and knowing that I'm capable of doing so, yeah, it's nice.
What kind of audience are you expressing yourself to?
People who have similar thought processes to me, um, people who are kind of awkward but confident in their own way. I feel like that those are the people I really click with, and I think I see a lot of those people that really like my stuff and what I do. I see those qualities in them as well. So yeah, I would say like those group of people.
What's the highlight of beatboxing for you?
I would say the highlight is just seeing people who want to learn and come to me to do so. Because there's people who are like interested and they find it cool, and then there's other people who they kind of like latch onto it, not necessarily right away, but very quickly, and like you can tell they want to learn. Because I've been there, like I said earlier with my friend, I latched on and really wanted to learn. I like seeing that in people because it creates a work ethic. When you work really hard towards something, but it doesn't feel like work because you're enjoying yourself, that actually kind of subconsciously creates a really good work ethic.
What are your influences? Who do you look up to?
Uh, I definitely like draw a lot of influences just from the Canadian scene. I think Canadian beatboxing is really like poppy and like tutty and really clicky. Um, I think my style reflects that a lot, but like I can draw inspiration just from visiting a city, meeting new people, like going to the powwow. I drew a lot of inspiration from that performing there. My culture, yeah, like I genuinely can draw inspiration from anywhere.
You said you teach.
I don't feel like I'm in the position to like officially teach people yet. I just don't think I'm at that point in my beatbox career, but like I have taught unofficially taught people how to do like certain sounds, certain noises, or how to construct beats and look at structure differently from different angles. Especially, I run Atlantic Beatbox Scene, which is the beatbox scene for Atlantic Canada, and I have a lot of members in that, and we're constantly just going back and forth with each other, teaching each other new sounds and melodies, and yeah, all of the above really.
And where do you see your beatboxing taking you in the future, and where do you want to go with it?
Um, I used to have a lot of competitive goals, but my goals now have really shifted. I just want to be able to financially support myself off of what I love to do, really. I think, actually, I thought about this question last night because I was like cleaning up and I was like, oh yeah, I got an interview tomorrow, so I just kind of thought about it because I didn't want to completely wing it. And one thing I thought about was I think it would be super cool to bring like some form of beatboxing events to powwows, not just as a one-time thing, but as something we adopt in our culture. I think it just makes sense for beatboxing to be something that we practice. It is the most organic source of music, and you know, we're very expressive with our bodies, our voices, the way we dress, everything in our culture, and I think beatboxing really aligns with that.
So you'd say that your community is important to you?
hmm It has become more important to me the farther I've gone on in my beatboxing career.
So you kind of want to give back to your community with what you love with beatboxing.
I guess at the foundation of things, it is like honoring something with my culture because it's expression, but the way I look at it is like I'm part of something new that my generation will hand down to the generation below us.
So tell me about the recent international festival you were in.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not in it. I submitted a wild card and I ended up placing 17th, which is first runner up, and I am in some ways proud of that score. The competition was definitely tough, but I'm still actively preparing as if I'm in that battle in case somebody drops out and I get the opportunity because I am ready and I do think I deserve that shot from the get-go. So it's something that I'm actively preparing for.
So you seem very passionate about the competitive scene of beatboxing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I am a competitive person by nature. I grew up with 3 siblings and I played sports, so it's just how it is. The competitive side of it for me hasn't really like shifted as I have shifted. I think it's more about putting on a performance with somebody. At the end of things, it would be a battle because one person wins, one person loses. But I think everything around the battle is more for me than the battle itself. Just the atmosphere and being on stage with somebody else. Yeah, it's nice.
Do you have anything to say for anybody new and up and coming?
Yeah, just do what you want to do, even if it sounds like somebody else, because through that you will find your style. Because at this point in beatboxing, style and originality is everything. And yeah, that's about it. And work hard, obviously.
Would you say that you've found your style and what you want to do with that?
Yeah, for sure. Especially over this past year or so, just going through a lot, and having beatboxing be there and be that like thing that I can do when I am really stressed out, and then to be able to forget about everything else. Through that, I've definitely found what works for me and the sounds that I want to give off. Okay. Just explain who you are and what you do.
My name is Nora Glover. I'm from Flat Bay originally. Well, we live Flat Bay River now. I've been doing beading for about 15, 20 years now. Dream catchers, medicine bags, purses, all kinds of native work with hides.
So, how did you go about beginning this art?
I met a guy in the Corner Brook Mall, a native guy from Nova Scotia, and he was walking towards me, and he asked me to stop, and I stopped, and he passed me this little necklace, and he put it in my hand. He said, "Here, you can do that." And I came home and I got some beads and that's where I started doing beading. So from then, I would buy things, figure out how it was done, take it apart, and then teach myself how to do it.
In terms of your art and what you do you draw inspiration from your culture?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. I can be depressed, and all I got to do is come down and get into my beads or my dream catchers, or watch a preview of one of the later powwows, and I hear the drums. Love the drums.
Where are you at now in terms of your progression?
Well, I bead right now. I do a lot of local orders. I bead every year for the powwow. I bead for the museum in St. George's. And I used to bead for a lot of online orders, but I had to stop because I couldn't keep up with it. Too many orders, just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. So now I just do like for around here, right?
Yeah, so for you then it's more about the passion and not necessarily the profit?
No, I love doing it. I really, really love, like I say, beading takes me to a place of peace. It really does.
Where would you like to see yourself in the future?
Well, I think that our culture needs to start getting in with the younger generation and start teaching them now what we know and what we do. And there should be programs set up so that, in the evenings or even in schools or something, right? To teach kids how to bead, how to do dream catchers.
So that's something that's important to you then, is passing down your traditions to our generation?
Yes, most definitely, yes. The powwow. I'll be starting now, probably September, October, starting to do my work for the powwow. And by Christmas time comes, everything's gone again because people are calling wanting Christmas presents. So I can bead and do work full time year round and still not be ready for the powwow. Yeah. I've had 4 orders of purses just before the powwow. Ladies wanting me to make them handbags, right? No, I can't do it.
So how long does it take individually for each item to make, like for a purse? Or?
Well, beading a pair of earrings would probably take me a couple hours. A purse would probably take me, because everything is hand sewed with sinew and that, and I cut my own fringes, and then I bead what they want on the purse. So that could take me probably up to a week for a purse. Yeah. And if I had some help, I'd do it a lot faster. That's why I said the younger people should be into doing that, right?